cost them anything out of their pocket other than their monthly membership fee. And because of that, people are going to play much looser. They're going to gamble recklessly. You know, poker honestly is a game that's designed to be played for something. You know, stakes matter in poker, and decisions matter in poker. And, you know, if it doesn't cost you anything to make a decision to draw the gut shot straight, on these free sites, a lot of people do.
But there is a lot at stake, like we know. Cash and prizes every month, and a shot to come out to a tournament like this and win your way in. So, but I guess it's not.
But people do gamble a lot more, Vince, to try to accumulate chips to give them a good chance to win. Yeah. And they will fire it up early in those tournaments, and that's what happens. We understand it.
Alrighty, and while you watched all of our episodes, love you. That's very nice. Appreciate that. Yeah, 14th year we're into. Let's see if there's any other questions. Oh, who was the best poker player in history and why, Mike?
Well, my personal opinion is the best all-around poker player of all time is a guy named Chip Reese. He's the youngest member ever elected to the Poker Hall of Fame at 40 years old. He's from my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, Centerville, a suburb of Dayton. Actually went to Dartmouth, very intelligent, was going to Stanford Business School and Stanford Law School, and then in the summer of '73, him and one of my best friends growing up, Danny Robinson, the guy that taught me how to play poker, they came to Las Vegas with a $1,000 bankroll, and within 3 or 4 months turned it into $1 million. That was back in the early '70s. And Chip never did end up going to law school and became a professional poker player. And the reason he was the best player of all is not only because he was smart, just intelligent-wise, but because he never steamed at the table. You know, a reporter asked him one time, Chip, you know, what's the difference in you and all these other players that you play with in these high-stakes games? And Chip said, honestly, you know, when these guys are on their A game, you know, everybody plays about the same. He said the difference is those guys have a C and D game where I don't. You know, I might slip down to a B+, but I don't steam and they do, and over the course of time, that makes a big difference.
It's a great lesson. I mean, that is, I agree. It's being able to control your emotions, and also if you want to be a winner, play against competition that is not as good as you. Look for them.
And a no-limit hold'em, I rate Stu Unger as the greatest player of all time. It'll be hard for me to change my mind on that.
All right. Question is, what are your thoughts on Macau? Have you played there? How'd it go? Who'd you see there?
Honestly, I've never been to Macau in my life. Haven't played there. I know they have some real ultra high stakes games there, and you know, a lot of gamblers go to Macau, obviously, but I can't really speak about it other than what I've heard because I've never been there.
I've never been to Macau, but I've been to Panda Express.
Well, tell us about it. You know, you might get a deal here.
I don't know. I've never been.
No.
What is your most memorable hand, and what is the biggest pot you have won and lost?
Oh, boy. Well, probably my most memorable hand, certainly one of them, is the hand that I played against Daniel Negreanu to win the 2006 WSOP Tournament of Champions at $1 million first place prize. I happened to pick up 2 aces on that hand, and that was the last hand that was played after we played a 7-hour heads-up marathon match that I was fortunate to come out on top of. So I guess those 2 aces, because it won me the tournament, is my favorite hand.
Yeah. And I know a few hands that when I was playing a pretty big cash game, I lost for weeks with kings wired. So eventually, I didn't know what to do anymore. So I kept losing these big pots with kings. And I said, I'm never going to play kings again. So after about a week or 2, I didn't play kings, and I did fine. And then all of a sudden, I got the kings again, and I won the biggest pot of my life. I just won a gigantic pot. And from then on, kings worked for me for another 3 months. So it was streaky. But I just remember the kings are either, you know, fantastic or horrible. That's my experience. This person says, why does poker suck?
Well, obviously, that guy's not running too good. We know that. You know, people that run good love poker. Everything's great. The world's hunky-dory. But if you're running bad and you had a bad few weeks, all of a sudden poker sucks again. And Vince, we know it can be tough. You know, if you know, you don't even have to be playing bad. If you're just taking bad beats where you get knocked out of tournaments when you have the best hand, when the money goes in, it's very, very tough. And I honestly believe that playing tournament poker professionally, mentally, is as tough as any sport out there. You've got to be so tough mentally to be able to handle the ups and downs and the swings and the bad beats of getting knocked out like that in those tournaments. You know, as we all know, you only get to those final tables and win tournaments very rarely. And I don't care if you're the greatest player in the world, it's very rare between wins. And, you know, in between all that time, it's frustration, Vince, as you know about. You just went deep in our last two WPT events. You got knocked out, you made over 40,000, and you were a sad little puppy dog.
Well, what another point is, it's so great when you're going good and you're winning, and life is never better. There's nothing like playing poker when you're winning. However, and by the way, when you're winning all the time, you know, you want to pick up a poker magazine and breeze through it. You're reading everything about poker. It's exciting. You want to talk about poker. But when you lose, I don't want to see a poker magazine within 100 yards of me. I don't want. I look the other way. I don't want to talk about it. So it's a love-hate relationship I think we have with poker. I think everybody feels that. But it does make a man out of you. It does teach you about life. It teaches you lessons. You have to have a certain heart to do it. And overall, I'm glad I'm a player. I'm sure you are too.
You got to be into S&M. You got to like pain if you like poker. That's all I know, because you take a lot of beats.
Mike, this one's for you. Can you give us a personal commentary, street by street, on the sick call with Mike Matusow? What's going through your head?
Well, on the sick call with Mike Matusow, honestly, I get stopped so many times by so many people raving about that hand, but truthfully, to me, it was a pretty simple call to make the way the hand was played. I was in the big blind. Mike Matusow and Daniel Negreanu were in the pot. We were down to three-handed, and they both limped in, so I got to see a free flop with a 7-3 offsuit. You know, and now the flop comes Queen 9-3, I believe it was, and it goes check, check, check. So we go to the turn and ace comes off.